So, Ray of Sunshine is back, and we are back in 2024, and I have a rocking cowlick today. Winner. Okay, so first up for us is my buddy Danami, who is just a tremendously awesome, incredible, powerful storyteller. And what was really cool, we reconnected last year and kind of came into this realization that that wasn't our first conversation. Back in a previous life for me, when I was doing radio and music all the time, he and I had talked and done some music connection stuff. And then we connected again on storytelling. And so, Danami, thank you for being who you are, buddy. Thank you for your inspiration, for your stories, for the ways that you listen. Like one of the things that is your superpowers, you've got many of them, but one of your superpowers is you listen with a very focused, keen ear. And not only do you hear people and are you fully present with people, which is a massive superpower. Presence is such a huge gift, but you remember details that are really, really awesome. And that's something that I do too in my relationships. And so to see that mirrored back in a lot of ways is such a huge gift to me. So thank you for being a ray of sunshine in my world and in the world at large, buddy.
Man, thank you for filling my cup. I appreciate it.
Well, I want to just hear if you'll allow us to kind of get a little bit of insight about you. Like you're such a passionate person, and you're a very very deep thinker. Again, another reason why I absolutely love talking with you. Will you share with us just a little bit about your backstory and how you've come into this place of being so open to revelations being all around you all the time?
Mm. I've never had that question be asked to me, so that's a good one. I'm going to think on the fly with this, which is good. I like thought-provoking questions regarding me and just thinking. So let me just take a moment. Um, it's something that you said that I'm really clinging on to. You said being open to revelation, and that just makes me think like, hey, what was that time or what was that moment or the moments in which I allowed myself to be open? And I think it was maybe working at the advertising agency, and so many people were saying like different things about me, positive things about me, and I just started to really assess who I am, looking at personality tests. I enjoy doing those, looking at different, Christian spiritual gifts and doing those tests and seeing where I fall. And I remember what kept coming up was you mentioned deep thinking, but teaching kept coming up, um, listening kept coming up, and like a desire for understanding sort of kept coming up. And when I recognized that in all of my works, I just leaned into it. And leaning into it has truly been remarkable. I think the reason you probably give me the praise that you give me is because I leaned into those things and I know what my superpower is and or my superpowers are, and I just continue to lean into those things.
I love the man, I love the verbiage because the leaning in is such a key part of this. And I think that, we both as storytellers lean into different sides of the dynamic of the stories that we're telling. But what you just shared is a different way of looking at leaning in. The ways that I've done it before and the ways that I've talked about it before is like leaning into the pain instead of running away. But you're talking about like leaning into the goodness too, leaning into the sweetness, leaning into the things that are calling to you. Will you go a little bit deeper in that?
Yeah, it's interesting because before we started our call, I mentioned the duality of life of, the trials that we go through, the hardships, but yet there's still tremendous beauty in that, in life in general. So, I think both of us are the same coin, just the other side, representing that full picture of leaning into the hardships and what can come out of those hardships, and especially for me when I think about biblically speaking and those hardships of testing our faith or testing our character. So there's some refinement that can happen during those hardships. But the other side of leaning into the gifts or leaning into um, the ways that God is perfecting us to be this glorious image of Him, like those things are equally as important as well, and so I think a good point about this is my wife, one of her gifts that I will recognize in her is hospitality.
Mm.
That's not like a gift of mine. I'm not really leaning into hospitality. It's something I need to practice and build the muscle, but she like really leans into that, and I admire her, and I just admire her different gifts, and the fact that when we come together, we make up a greater sum.
Mm. It's beautiful, man. It's really beautiful. Now, you live in a part of the world that I'm very fond of because you guys have a lot of water
And a
everywhere.
lot of snow sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask is has because you mentioned some of the trials and stuff. Like, and I found out yesterday that Chicago got a massive snowstorm. Have you guys been like under snow?
Man, we have had flurries. We have had no deep snow.
Mm,
This year, this winter season has been relatively dry and actually warmer than typical years, and especially the years that I've been here in Minnesota. So I'm actually wanting more snow. I'm
mm.
anticipating the transformation of the scenery.
Well, tell us a little bit about bear stories because the work that you do as a storyteller and as a videographer is really inspirational stuff. I saw Danami on, we reconnected on LinkedIn and reconnected around, well, actually, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I saw your storytelling stuff and I was like, okay, cool. I want to see what this guy's got. And then you, here's another way that you and I are really similar. We're both very intentional about the way that we connect and interact with people. And so I don't know if I sent you a friend request or you sent me or however it worked, but like what you did that really like drew my heart into wanting to connect with you, like, well, again, but unbeknownst to me again, was you sent me a voice message
Hmm.
and you asked some really awesome questions. And I was like, this guy is not just somebody that's interested in a connection on the business social media platform. Here's a real dude that really wants to have conversation and get to know me and just see where this connection goes. And I am magnetized by this kind of dynamic because it's a heart led sort of thing. And so, like, I think that's a big part of you, that's a huge part of you as a man and as a person. And also see the way that it comes through in the way that you do storytelling and the way you run your business. And so, will you share a little bit about the heart centered nature of you and your work?
Yes. The heart-centered nature of me and my work, man, I truly think it comes from a place, for sure, me being a follower of Jesus like shapes that. Um, I also grew up in Detroit, and Detroit is very much cut and dry in some situations. Like, you know, like if you're a fake person, a person that's you know telling lies or not really living in any sort of truth, then there's this idea of like I'm not rocking with a fake person. And so culturally and where I grew up geographically, I think that also shaped me because when I'm in conversations with people today, while the conversations may not necessarily be fake per se, but fake to me also relates to surface level,
Hmm.
right? If we want to compare a a bag made by Louis Vuitton and then a knockoff brand that is sold, on the streets, if we go into the depths of the materials and how it was made, we would see that there's a difference. There's a certain depth in the authentic creation. And so that's what I'm mostly interested about. I'm interested in the depths of people because that's where the riches are.
Hmm.
I remember we were chatting before, and I told you about my grandmother. And my grandmother, one of the best gifts that she gave to me was just listening to me and her just allowing me to vent what I was going through with my mother and the stresses that I had as a young person growing up and not offer any advice. And she would just listen. I think that really planted a seed because when I'm showing up in situations with people, it's like I genuinely care. Like I want, like I know what it feels like to be heard and to be seen, and I want to make sure other people feel that way. And as it relates to my work, I think storytelling is such a catalyst for that in general. Like us telling stories, whether it's our stories or other people's stories, it allows the person receiving the story, hearing the story, or viewing the story to see the person more deeply.
Hmm.
And that's the beauty. So I'm just really grateful that I could do the work in storytelling that will then align with, I guess, my values and the things that I care about and then the things that are true to me. And so when we started Bear Stories, and I like to view myself as the co-founder of Bear Stories, like this is totally like God's business. I wasn't planning on doing Bear Stories. I was planning on doing more music and trying to release more music, but God sort of ushered me into this direction and a lot of things just connected and aligned, thus allowing us to work with and focus on nonprofits to help them not just boost donations, because to me, donations is the result of the deepening of the relationship. And we help deepen those relationships with nonprofits and their audience through storytelling. And it's through that we get to elevate empathy, community, and then the donations come.
So, man, living in a town that like I do, where there's we've got I think we've got the most nonprofit organizations of any like per capita of any place in America.
Oh,
I
for
mean,
real?
dude, 200 and something nonprofits and growing in a place that has 120,000 people.
Hmm.
That's that's a lot. We also have more churches, I think, or maybe we're either tied for first or second in that capacity. But um, but with all of these nonprofits and all people doing amazing stuff, but there is so much of the focus for many of them on how to raise money, but without seeing the relationship dynamic that's taking place. And so what you just shared there was a very powerful, um, almost like thesis statement for the way that it actually works, and something that I'm now that you've said it, I'm like, okay, uh, Danami's given me some verbiage to frame the way that this whole so thank you so much for that dynamic, man.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I, I was thinking more about the relationship even as I'm reading the sales book, and I went through this whole sales call with someone who, you know, I was being sold to. But even before jumping on the call, like the reason I even jumped on the call was because there was enough trust because of the content that the organization was releasing, thus building our relationship that even made me trust that it'd be worthy to hop on the phone call. And so, in the marketing space, especially when we're creating content, it's really our content is a means to our relationship building.
Mm, right on. Yeah. And it starts conversations.
100%.
And the conversations is what makes the connection. So, dude, you and I have very awesome conversations. And so, just kind of to wrap everything up, I wanted to just shine some spotlight on you because you're an awesome person. You're an incredible man. You're an amazing leader. You're an amazing storyteller. You're a wonderful friend. And I want more people to know about you and the work that you do. So thank you for being an inspiration to me, dude. Thank you for amazing conversations. Thank you for your big heart. Thank you for shining your light everywhere you go. And blessings to you, buddy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you doing the spotlight and sharing those flowers. Thank you.